What's going on, everyone? Jack here from Half Chrome, and this is the Holy Stone HS900. And I'm pretty serious when I tell you this is the best drone that Holy Stone has ever sold. Actually, it's called the Sirius, but I am being serious. This really is the best drone that they sell on Amazon. It is a sub 250 gram drone with a full 3-axis gimbal, a 4K camera, a decent flight time, a decent range. This thing really is a player in the new mini drone segment. It has a handful of intelligent flight modes. This thing, is it worth your money? Well, I'll let you make that decision. Stay tuned, we're going to talk a little bit more about it. Okay, so this number right here on the arm, 249 grams, is a really important number. In the United States, if your drone weighs less than 250 grams, you do not have to register it with the FAA, and it is not subject to remote ID. Those are two things that people tend to find to be a hassle or don't want to deal with, and you don't have to do that if you have a mini drone. So this meets those requirements, but it's not just a drone that's less than 250 grams. It's actually a decent little drone with a pretty solid little camera. Now this 4K camera, you can shoot 4K 30. You can also shoot HD 1080p at 60 frames a second. So if you want to slow something down, you can do that. You can also choose which bitrate you want it to record at, 50 or 100. Go for the higher one, you're going to get better quality there. Now this has a 1/2.3 inch sensor, and that is the same size sensor that you're going to find on a comparable mini drone like the DJI Mini 2, the Specta Mini. There are a lot of good mini drones out there, and this is definitely a viable option. The camera is pretty solid, and you can even take photos at 48 megapixels and even save them in the RAW format if that's what you're looking for. So you do have to register this drone with Holy Stone, basically creating an account with them, and it takes an email address and a password and some back and forth between your emails to get it all set up, which is kind of a pain, but they say they're doing it so you can log your flights and records and things like that. Now this Sirius HS900 also has a range of 20,000 feet. Sounds like a lot, right? Well, that's almost 4 miles, about 3.8. Or for those of us that understand things in meters, that's about 6,000 meters. It does support quick charging. You need a USB-C cable to do so, and pretty beefy power brick. It also will store things right next to that on an SD card. It's a tap and press to turn this thing on, much like a DJI drone. They do say you can get up to about 25 minutes of flight time, and you're probably not going to get that. I had this thing out on a pretty windy day, and surprisingly, it held its own. When I had it really high and was moving fast, we got some gimbal movements here that I didn't desire, but that's pretty typical, especially with a mini drone. And I do even have a little bit of lookup angle on this. This is a pretty solid little drone. The HS900 also has a handful of intelligent flight modes. You've got an orbit, you've got a rocket, you've got a droney, and those are probably the three that I really use the most. They're pretty awesome, and it's based on visual tracking, so you select a subject, and then it'll fly that pattern. This drone also does have a follow me feature, and it does work pretty well. Like, it's not perfect, it's going to lose you. There are some parameters you have to have in place. Either way, it works decently well, and that's something that a lot of DJI drones don't have, at least not their mini ones, unless you opt for the Mini 3 Pro or the Mini 4 Pro that has obstacle avoidance, and we're spending 2, 3, 4 times as much on one of those versus something like this. This is the remote control you get. No, you don't get this phone down here. That one's mine, but that's where it goes when it plugs in via this cable here. Not to be confused with this cable where it plugs in to charge. I may or may not have ran into that issue trying to get this thing connected, but either way, plugs into the left side. We have a return to home button. We have a speed button. You can even adjust the exposure value right here. This does shoot in pro mode, and you can even take raw photos. That's a big deal. We've got a record button on this shoulder, a photo button on this shoulder. We have a programmable button. By default, it centers the camera perfectly straight forward or perfectly down, and you can change that. And we do have a gimbal dial. It's comfortable in my hands and it works well enough. You do also get this carrying case, and it fits the drone in there nicely with some room to spare. You also get an extra set of props, a screwdriver, some literature on the drone, a gimbal guard, and a USB-C charging cable. So the question is, do you want this drone? Well, there are a lot of different options out there. Fimi has a couple of different mini drone options. We've got the Specta Mini. DJI has the new 4K Mini. Seafly has a couple of different options, and really comes down to a couple of things, and probably the most important is your budget. So this drone is typically $469, but there is a coupon on Amazon, and then there's a link in the video description to save you another 20%, getting it right under $300. Now, all prices are subject to change, just keep that in mind. Now that's pretty much standard for a mini drone, somewhere around $300. This Seafly Faith Mini 1's about $165. Camera's not as good. DJI Mini 4K is just a little bit more expensive, probably a little bit better, but it doesn't have the follow me feature. And the Specta Mini, probably a little bit easier to use because it's based on DJI software, but it doesn't have that follow me feature. This is a pretty solid drone for sure, and you'd probably be pretty happy. Holy Stone is known for having pretty solid customer service, and they do all of their sales through Amazon, so you have that backing as well. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. Good luck everyone, and happy flying.